Today on the agenda, Roy Moore vows to fight against what he calls a Democratic attempt to undermine his Senate bid. But are those sexual misconduct allegations proving to be too much for the Republican Party? Plus, Republicans split on tax relief. Which version works best for you and which one proves to be more taxing? Plus, Joe Biden says there's only one Democrat who could beat President Trump in 2020. Who that person is and why a new poll may prove his point. America Talks Live starts right now. Happy Friday. Congratulations. You made it. Thanks for joining us here on America Talks Live. I'm your host, Miranda. Before we delve into today's topics, we want to remind you that this is an interactive show, one that welcomes your voice, your thoughts and opinions. After all, we work for you. If you would like to chime in, simply give us a call right now at 1-877-NEWSMAX. Again, that number is 1-877-639-7629. You can also go to newsmaxtv.com and leave us a comment there as well. All right, so we begin today in Vietnam. That's where President Trump is meeting with heads of state during a dinner and gala performance at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. President Trump posed for a picture with Russia's leader, Vladimir Putin. They shook hands, as you can see, then went their separate ways for the dinner. The White House said earlier that no formal meeting between Trump and Putin was planned due to scheduling conflicts on both sides. Earlier today, President Trump delivered a very hardline speech about trade, appearing to criticize China just hours after leaving Beijing.
We can no longer tolerate these chronic trade abuses, and we will not tolerate them. Despite years of broken promises, we were told that someday soon everyone would behave fairly and responsibly. People in America and throughout the Indo-Pacific region have waited for that day to come, but it never has, and that is why I'm here today.
He also took some time for a meet and greet with veterans ahead of Veterans Day.
Our veterans are a national treasure, and I thank them all for their service, sacrifice, and patriotism. To each of you with me today, you are the heroes who fulfill your duty to our nation, and each of you, under the most difficult conditions, did what you had to do, and you did it well. Our accountability efforts in Vietnam are very, very important to all of us. We will not rest until all of the 1,253 missing veterans are returned home. I want to thank the government of Vietnam for their assistance in our efforts. Today I'm signing a proclamation to honor the veterans of the Vietnam War. This is part of the ongoing 13-year commemoration of their sacrifice for freedom. And I just want to thank these 7 very brave people for being here.
Meanwhile, back here at home, the fallout continues after Alabama's Republican nominee for Senate, Roy Moore, was accused of sexual misconduct. The White House says President Trump believes Moore should do the right thing and step aside if those allegations prove to be true. But Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders says Trump doesn't think that the mere allegation of impropriety should be allowed to destroy a person's life. Roy Moore has vigorously denied all the allegations reported in that Washington Post article. In that report, Lee Corfman accuses Moore of making inappropriate advances and having sexual contact with her when she was only 14 years old. 3 other women also told the Post that Moore pursued them when they were between the ages of 16 and 18, while Moore was in his early 30s. None of the other women said that Moore forced them into any sort of relationship or sexual contact. Moore's campaign has called the allegations, quote, the very definition of fake news. Moore also slammed the story on Twitter, claiming that the Obama and Clinton machines' liberal media lapdogs just launched the most vicious and nasty round of attacks against him. Also pointing to the left, Steve Bannon, who backed Moore in the primary against Senator Luther Strange. He ripped into the Washington Post last night during a fundraiser in New Hampshire.
The Bezos, Amazon, Washington Post that dropped that dime on Donald Trump is the same Bezos, Amazon, Washington Post that dropped the dime this afternoon on Judge Roy Moore. Now, is that a coincidence? That's what I mean when I say opposition party, right? It's purely part of the apparatus of the Democratic Party. They don't make any bones about it.
And that's where we want to welcome in Larry Klayman, the founder of Freedom Watch. He's also a former federal prosecutor, and we always appreciate your time here on America Talks Live. Good to see you.
Same.
Larry, does this smell to you like a Democratic hit piece?
It does. You know, I know Judge Roy Moore. I've known him going way back. We were part of a group of conservatives that would meet. He's a very fine man. You know, 38 years later, this comes up. And of course, as Steve Bannon said, it comes out of the Washington Post. Who is the Washington Post? Not only is it owned by Steve Bezos, but the lawyers of the Washington Post, David Kendall and Williams and Connolly, represent the Clintons. I fought them now for decades. This is a cabal in Washington, D.C. It's out to destroy Roy Moore, and I hope that he holds his ground here. Now, if there's a problem here, let them bring a lawsuit, these women. We live in an age, Miranda, right now where everybody's a racist, everybody's a sexual harasser, everybody's a misogynist. Anytime you want to destroy somebody, you throw these things out. Some of these allegations are true. Obviously, Harvey Weinstein deserves what's going to come to him, so Kevin Spacek and others. But this is a man who's never had a history of this. This is somebody who is a religious man, who believes in the Ten Commandments, who believes in being righteous. Give him the benefit of the doubt. This is clearly, in my view, a likely hit piece. And what happens in these things is that people make allegations and they walk off scot-free. You know, there's one of the major commandments is thou shalt not bear false witness. And these kinds of allegations, there's no consequence to the accuser, but the accused winds up getting destroyed.
Well, soon after the allegations surfaced, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell told reporters Moore should step down. This is literally within minutes if those allegations are true. But Senator John McCain went a step further. He called the accusations disturbing and disqualifying. He says Moore should step down immediately. But even if Moore does do that, his name will still appear on the ballot when voters head to the polls on December 12th. So what does the response from the Republican leaders indicate to you, Larry, given the fact that the president and McConnell didn't want Moore to begin with? They wanted Luther Strange.
It's despicable. This is the Washington establishment that hates President Trump, that tries to destroy President Trump time in and time out, whether it's Mitch McConnell or John McCain or the other senator from Arizona, Jeff Flake. And, you know, McCain shouldn't be making these kinds of allegations. Those in glass houses should not throw stones. Many people believe that when McCain was in the Hanoi Hilton during the Vietnam War, that he broke and that he gave classified information to the North Vietnamese. His dad was the admiral in charge of the 7th Fleet. If he wants to throw around stuff like this, then he should be able to answer those allegations, whether he actually did compromise the United States during those years. You know, yes, he was severely beaten. He is a so-called hero, but this is a man who is way past his time, who I believe is senile and is so hateful towards President Trump that anybody in and around him, he will try to destroy. And it's time for Senator McCain to go. I feel sorry for him with regard to his brain tumor, but he's doing real damage to this country. And McConnell has no guts. McConnell wanted his guy, Luther Strange, to be the Senate candidate in Alabama. And this is why the Republicans lost this week in Virginia, the gubernatorial contest, and also in New Jersey. Conservatives, libertarians, people of faith have seen the Republican establishment for what it is. It's the flip side of the Democrat coin. It's destroying this country. It has no morals. It has no ethics. It is a bunch of weasels who runs for the exits whenever they're called into question. That gets back to the first thing I said. Call a Republican a racist. Call him a sexual harasser, and he'll be nowhere to be found. He won't stand up for himself. He'll just run.
Larry, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but I kind of want to get to the legalities of this issue because, again, you were a former federal prosecutor. So what legal recourse can someone like Moore take then to defend himself if, again, assuming that he's telling the truth because he's vowing to fight this. He's saying he's not going to step down.
He should bring a lawsuit for defamation. You know, if this is not accurate, he should sue them for defamation. Now, their statute of limitations has run 38 years later. The women can't bring a case at this point, but he should stand up and stand up for himself, you know, and that's when you see things. For instance, Fox News has had issues. Okay, Bill O'Reilly has had issues. He settled 8 lawsuits. Now, when you settle 8 lawsuits and you don't defend yourself, what are people going to believe? They believe that it really happened. Okay, so if it didn't happen, put up or shut up. Bring a lawsuit for defamation and see where it comes out. Because if it's not true, you need to take a stand.
Well, you mentioned you've known him for years. Have you spoken to him recently?
I had him on my radio show. I have a radio show, Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman on Radio America. You can find it on our website at freedomwatchusa.org, also on YouTube. I had him on when he was running for the U.S. Senate. I know him from before, years ago.
But have you talked to him about, since these recent allegations came up, have you talked to him about this?
No, I haven't, no.
Okay, and real quickly, we only have about a minute remaining, but you mentioned Harvey Weinstein. Obviously, in the last several weeks, a lot of accusations have been coming forth, sexual harassment, misconduct, even rape. Some people are coining this the Weinstein effect. Do you think this will continue, and is there a danger at all in punishing people before these allegations have been proven to be true?
There is. There is. I respect women, and it's terrible. I represented the Clinton women who were harassed by Bill Clinton, all of them, except for one that fled to Paris. These things need to be addressed. But yes, we're getting into a Salem witch trial at this point. That's the mentality out there, whether it's false allegations or any allegations of sexual harassment or racial discrimination. It's so easy to throw it around, and it's destroying people's lives. It's extremely dangerous, Miranda.
So people should countersue is what you're suggesting, at least defamation. Larry Klayman, always a pleasure to have you here on America Talks Live. If you do talk to Roy Moore, let us know. Keep us posted.
I will. God bless.
All right, still to come here on America Talks Live, Senate Republicans finally unveiled their plan on tax reform. But what it also unveiled is a divided Republican Party. Could we see the same thing that we saw when it came to repealing and replacing Obamacare? That failed 3 times. Could we see the same thing again? Or will they be able to come together and find some common ground, create a bill that the president will actually sign? We're going to talk about some of the differences from the House bill versus the Senate bill and which ones you think will work best for America. We're going to explain all that right after the break. And a reminder, you can always weigh in on the conversation. The number to call again is 1-877-NEWSMAX. Again, that's 1-877-639-7629.